my favorite things to do on this channel is to debunk narratives, and it's honestly a hell of a lot of fun. One of my favorite narratives to debunk is the fact that people have gone around and said multiple times to me that you have to spend $3,000 on a PC in order to keep up with the consoles in the current generation, which we've already debunked multiple times on this channel. Another favorite one is, oh, you got to upgrade your PC parts every year, every 2 years, comparatively to what you actually hear from NVIDIA and AMD. No, you actually don't. In fact, there's so many pieces of technology out right now that still run games to this day at an acceptable level in frame rate. It's honestly staggering. 1080 Ti still going strong, baby. But the thing is, seeing this entire narrative shift over and over again about one little device, one little box that continually goes through and is a little engine that could. That's right, the Xbox Series S. We're going to debunk that narrative today. In fact, we don't have to do it. Every other game developer is going to be doing it for us. And what's even better is we're going to have PlayStation fanboys get in their feelings about it and prove to everybody they don't know how to read. It's going to be great. Now, with all that being said, the reason why I'm talking about this video and what's been happening is recently we've seen two different kind of camps of games coming out that are really just on the opposite ends of the spectrum. On one side, you've got Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which provided a fantastic optimized build for basically every single platform. Even on my Steam Deck, it ran at 60 FPS, which was honestly pretty wild to see and still a good image quality. On the other hand, you've got Borderlands 4, where Randy Pitchford is so incensed with his own self and huffing his own farts through a tube that he's now arguing with people online about you need to have a better PC to play that game. But then comes along one little game as well, Battlefield 6. And it turns out that the Series S is actually the reason that game runs so great. Don't believe me? Let's go. According to Kotaku, an article that was written recently said this: Battlefield 6 devs struggled to get it running on the Xbox Series S. EA won't say anything about whether the upcoming and highly optimized shooter is coming to Switch too. Remember how I used to make those jokes that the Xbox tax isn't real? Well, you know what? I got a feeling the Xbox tax may in fact be real, because when you hear what happens in the article, what was actually said, the title of this thing doesn't make any sense whatsoever. In fact, it's written in an incredibly incendiary way. And honestly, it really goes to show that maybe there is some kind of bias in the media. I don't know. Was Alex wrong the entire time? Maybe, because looks like the Xbox tax might actually be a thing. But let's see what was actually said, though, because when you hear it, you're going to be just as confused about it. Trust me. Earlier this week, Kotaku sat down with two Battlefield 6 devs to discuss the game's console ports, and I asked if the team struggled while trying to get such a big and complicated game to run well on the Xbox Series S. We've heard stories that the Series S can cause devs headaches, and despite Frostbite, Battlefield 6's engine, being very scalable, the Series S was still proven a tricky beast to conquer. With the devs saying, quote, I will say that the biggest thing we did was a challenge for us was dealing with the console's limited memory, explained Christian Bull, technical director of Battlefield 6. Xbox Series S does have less memory than even our mid-spec PC, and so there was a point, I want to say like 6 to 12 months ago, where we kind of realized that a lot of our levels were crashing on the Xbox Series S. Now, I'm going to be honest about the entire thing, right? The fact that the Series S has less memory available to it than the Series X, in fact, was a dumb idea by Microsoft. It should have had the exact same memory size on both systems to avoid any issues like this at all going forward. That was a complete up by Microsoft in the first place, and hopefully the next gen console and handheld doesn't have those problems either. However, though, this isn't a problem simply with just the Series S. We've seen this issue happen with GPUs as well. If you look at the 3000 series GPUs, many of them have 8 gigs of VRAM standard, and the problem is, even with 8 gigs of VRAM available, you don't have games running optimally or even running well or designed for 8 gigs at all. Many PC YouTubers, and even including myself, don't see 8 gigs of VRAM as a viable solution or starter pack anymore. It should be 12 to 16 at the bare minimum, especially with the way these GPUs are costing right now in today's market. If you're going to charge more but give me less, we've got a big problem. The thing is, though, the Series S suffers from that same exact issue like we have with so many GPUs. Trying to run a game that uses more than 8 gigs of VRAM can cause massive problems. We see that over and over again, either crashing, flickering, just being completely unable to load textures or even play the game at all can happen simply because a memory pool is not big enough. And I'm guaranteeing that could have been the issue with what was going on with Battlefield 6. However, though, it turns out that the people over at DICE might have done something that devs failed to actually do: a little bit of work. The article continues by saying this: as a result, the team focused on optimizing memory usage in Battlefield 6, and these improvements weren't just felt on the Series S. According to Bull, this process made, quote, the whole game better and more stable. However, the devs also worked on specific optimizations for the Series S too. Saying, quote, we were doing so much testing, we were collecting all this data, explained Bull. Once we kind of started running all our levels through it and we were able to see where the problems were after a month or two, we had kind of resolved all our memory issues on the Series S. Bull says that Battlefield 6 is now super solid and performant on the Series S and will run at a smooth 60 frames per second, and footage of the game's open beta running on Series S seems to back that up. Oh, I'm sorry. Hello? Hi, hello? Optimization team? Did you guys fix the problem? And then by fixing the problem, you made every other game console have a way better experience overall, and then have the game run incredibly smooth on PC on the actual beta of its release? Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a second, hold on. The little thing holding back the video game industry, the little box that everybody's having a problem with, that all of a sudden the Battlefield 6 devs magically figured out and got to work, made the game run better across every other platform in general, and then they got that box run at 60 FPS, which means that people who are even on lower spec PCs than the minimum requirements were able to play Battlefield 6 and enjoy the game and even run it at a better overall frame rate and enjoyment, which means they get to have more sales, which means you get to have more players, and then on your experience, depending upon your hardware, get a better experience overall. It's almost like if a developer takes their time and actually works on the product and not tries to rush it out to market and then blame the consumer for not buying enough product in the first place, Randy Bitchford, then you'd actually have better sales, you'd have a better communication with your customer and clientele, and people will be more willing to buy your product. Oh, man! That's gotta be a big old WWW for the old Xbox Series S. Imagine if game developers actually took the time to go through about a month or two, is what they said actually, a month or two, to go through and be like, oh, fixing these problems made the game better across every other platform. Imagine the kind of games you would be playing right now. You wouldn't need a $900 console. You wouldn't need a $2,000 GPU. You wouldn't need to deal with shader cache stutters, all the issues and bullshit and garbage you're dealing with right now. You would simply have a better game overall and a game worth your actual money. Why? It's so simple. It just 2 months. It took these dudes 2 months to get the game running fantastic on that thing, and it's even better because now you get to see the fruits of their labor, because even on the PS5 it shows this. Battlefield 6 offers distinct performance mode on PlayStation consoles, catering to different preferences. On the base PS5, Fidelity Mode targets 1440p 60 FPS, providing a visually rich experience. Performance Mode lowers resolution to 1280p and aims for 90 FPS, giving smoother gameplay with slightly reduced detail. The PS5 Pro enhances experience further. Fidelity Mode runs at native 4K at 60 FPS. In Performance Mode, resolution drops to 1620p with frame rates reaching up to 120 FPS. Oh, that is unbelievably amazing. If it wasn't for the Series S, you would not be getting those resolutions and or frame rates on your consoles. You absolute PlayStation fanboy clowns. You need to be on your knees thanking the Xbox Series S for existing to get that kind of performance and frame rate while you get to play. Imagine native 4K res at 60 FPS. You guys have been wanting that since the beginning of the gen, and you guys spent over $1,400 to finally get it. You could have had it on the PC, though, with that kind of money. But hey, you know what? Stay where you want to stay. That's perfectly fine. But the entire narrative being popped in front of everybody's face has to be the funniest thing ever. And it's not the first time it's happened. Remember the whole thing about Black Myth Wukong not being on the Xbox Series S because of the RAM? Well, it turns out a year later, exactly to the day, what shows up on the old Xbox Series S? Black Myth Wukong. Remember how Larian was saying they were having a hard time with the Xbox Series S memory constraints and they weren't able to get co-op mode? Well, it turns out co-op mode got launched on the Xbox Series S, and because they were doing Xbox Series S work, it also benefited their performance across every single platform, posted directly by Larian themselves onto Twitter. CPU performance got better, GPU performance got better. Everybody simply benefited because game developers had to stop and take the time and do the effort to go through and optimize for that piece of plastic, which all you clowns were saying is going to hold back gaming. Yet at the same time, because they optimized for it, it made your experience in the current gen right now exponentially better. That is exactly what I've been talking about. That is true optimization. When game developers say, hey, here's our min spec, but we need to actually optimize for something lower. That way our min spec scales better up overall, and the people with higher end hardware get a better experience, people with lower end hardware can play the game, and more people can actually buy the game itself. That's how it should work. The 2070 Super should not be the actual minimum base standard spec, because not everybody has that kind of GPU. And even then, that GPU can sometimes even perform the consoles right now too, and trying to be like, oh, I need the most highfalutin visuals of all time. Well, you know what? You want people to actually optimize for the lower end specs first, because that'll make your experience on your higher end hardware that much better. Instead of having upscaled resolution to 4K, you get native 4K, which is always better. Instead of having just 30 FPS at 4K, you get 60 FPS, which is infinitely better. All these things benefit you as a consumer, gamer, and customer simply because game companies and developers optimize for a piece of hardware that you guys wanted to lambaste the entire time. And you know what's great? When none of you clowns know how to read. Here's word on Twitter saying this. So because the Series S was so bad, they spent more time on optimization than they planned to. Cool, I guess. Personally, I'd prefer we stop making a big deal out of graphics and game size/length and instead show devs we want polished games. What do you think they're doing? What do you think the experience is? Them optimizing for the Series S, you idiot, is what's giving you a polished game in the first place. No, that's not how that works. That's not how any of that works. The reason why the graphics are better on your current console and even your current PC hardware is because they had to go back and optimize for the Series S. It made everything exponentially better on every other platform, not just the Series S. How is it that people can be so actually every sense of the word? Ah, yes, the Series S was so bad they had to go back and optimize it. Or how about the fact that their game engine had definite issues with lower memory constraints and they had to go back and fix those issues in the actual game engine? Maybe that was the problem in the first place. Maybe their min spec was too high. Maybe their recommended spec was too high and they had to go back and say, you know what? We need to adjust these things, fix these problems. And by doing that, it made the PC port of that game infinitely amazing. It made the actual console versions infinitely better. It told them to stop and say, hey, look, fix these problems or else you're not going to have a good game. Imagine if now, instead of actually having a Series S around, you had to deal with upscaled resolution of 4K and then 30 FPS at 4K instead of getting native 4K 60 on your PS5 Pro. How is that a bad thing? Again, because of the Series S, that's what you have right now. But you clowns are so ingrained in your own console war tribalistic bullshit that because you spend more money than somebody else means that you should get a better experience. No! Everybody should get a good experience overall from the jump. And then depending upon what kind of hardware you have, you can then scale that actual game up to that kind of space. But the thing is, the game should run and the game should play at a base minimum standard of a good native resolution and then 60 FPS. But you guys don't even get that. You guys don't even get that. Here's Oliver Draco saying this. 1. Original story by Kotaku. 2. Spin doctored by Windows Central. Showing an actual post of the article headlines where the Kotaku article was written as an Xbox negative and the Windows Central was written correctly about how the Series S increased performance across all platforms. my guy, my dude, my boy, my confidant, you are literally the spin doctor. You didn't read the article. You didn't read the quotes. You didn't see what was said. And you are literally benefiting for the Series S existing and them optimizing for it for your PlayStation console. How? Bro, I'm telling you, that Ekbok tax, that bitch has got to be real. I'll hold my L gladly on that one at the fact that people are going around and blaming the Series S for getting a better experience on their platform because a developer optimized for the Series S. Brother, come on, man. It's crazy to me. People talk shit about PC gaming all the time. Oh, you gotta always increase your GPUs and buy more stuff and spend, but you have to do it on console. But the moment a developer goes through and says, hey, we're gonna optimize for this low-end piece of hardware, and it gets good across everybody else's piece of hardware, then lower spec PCs get to buy the game. That means the game developer gets more sales and they get more money, and more people get to play, and the game stays alive longer because more people are playing the fucking game, depending upon because you have to spend thousands of dollars on a piece of hardware for their game to run in the first place. Borderlands 4, Randy Pitchford. That's the issue. If the devs optimize their game for the Series S, it's going to benefit everybody across the long run. And instead, what you did, Oliver, was that you took this entire thing and you spun it. You are the spin doctor, my boy. You're the one. If you want to call me baby, just go ahead now. And if you, that's you, my boy. You're trying to be like Ekbok bad once again. Here we go. When in reality, if it wasn't for the Xbox Series S, you wouldn't have the performance you're getting with that game in the first place. Sit down, clown. And here comes good old Nib95 making an entire tweet thread about this entire thing because, of course, this fucking clown has to shit on Xbox any chance he gets, with the actual tweet reading this. One more to add to the list. Battlefield 6 developers talk Xbox Series S issues. Then he posts the quote that we all read in the article together, even posting the actual quote, how optimizing for the Series S made everything better overall for every other platform, by the way. And then at the end of the tweet says this. So the Series S memory issues rear their head again for the umpteenth time. But thankfully, optimizing for the Series S improved optimizations across the board. Hopefully, next gen, the lowest common denominator is far higher. And if the PS6 handheld is to be the new barometer, which I dislike, it at least has sufficient RAM. Full article, #Xbox, #Battlefield 6. It is insane to me how this dude can take an actual positive that happened because of the Series S existing and developers actually optimizing it for it to go through and get a better experience overall that he wrote in his own tweet, by the way, that he knows he's benefiting from because he has a PS5 Pro. He always talks about it, by the way. Finally getting what he's always wanted, native 4K resolution, high fidelity images, and 60 FPS in that game because of the Xbox Series S being optimized for, and he makes it a fucking negative. There's no way, bro. There's no way. And the guy says, add another one to the pile. You know what he's talking about? This. The dude literally created an actual collage of every single article written about the Xbox Series S being bad for the industry. And then he puts it all together in a picture. And then he's like, see, guys, I was right. Look at that. Xbox bad. Boo, boo, boo. This is what he does. If you want to talk about like fanboyism, this is it to the umpteenth degree. I just can't, bro. I just can't. How this fucking clown literally walks around, exposes himself in his own tweet, admitting that because the Xbox Series S existed and was optimized for, he gets a better experience overall, and then uses it as a bad thing. This is the actual Xbox derangement syndrome that we are seeing consistently. They can't even give it the proper flowers, brother. Holy gee, at least say the devs are doing a good job. Christ. Y'all can't do nothing. Here's Zuby Tech making this actual tweet saying, Battlefield developers on the Xbox Series S. And the thing is, what you're noticing across the board with all these screenshots is every PlayStation fanboy is simply writing the actual part where the developers were having a hard time from the beginning. They're not writing the part where you're actually seeing, hey, because of that, everything else got better. The funniest part about all of that is the original tweet that Zuby Tech made was all the negative stuff that they were talking about with the Series S and the memory constraints. Literally, right after that tweet, he wrote this: whole game better and more stable. I can't. Brother, I can't. You literally made your initial tweet as an actual Xbox negative post. Everybody's only going to read the initial Xbox negative post. You had 62,000 views on that post. You had over 400 likes on that post. Nobody read the second post after, because everybody would know that if you did put that quote directly inside of your original post, you would get fucking exposed, brother. You are a clown of clowns that I've ever seen in my entire life. The fact that you are doing this over and over again, calling yourself tech in the first place. Anyone who puts the word tech in their name doesn't know shit about tech. I'm telling you that right now. And the better part is Zubytech gets called out in the actual thread. Watch this. With Grim responding saying, why don't you just put this in the full tweet up above, since that's the whole point of the article. I don't like the Series S either, but come on, LOL. With Zubytech responding, I didn't see it. Didn't do it deliberately. Lies! Actual lies, because if you actually read the article before you made the tweet, you would have seen the post and it would have negated everything you read. Stop lying to everyone. Stop making fibs, stop telling lies, and you're not going to get caught like this every single time. Everybody knows why you did that. You did it literally deliberately. If you didn't, you would have deleted the tweet in the first place and then reposted it with the proper context instead of actually doing a reply tweet to it. Hit the music.
Exposed, 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 exposed.
But if you think that's bad, wait until somebody else catches a glimpse of that tweet too. Here's Dwed Dwagon saying this: no wonder so many devs skip Xbox. Even major publishers with the best teams are requiring months to figure out how to make games run on the shit box. That pushes budgets higher, dev times longer, and we wonder why game prices are rising. Xbox set back an entire generation. I can't, bro. I can't. Y'all aren't even trying anymore. Y'all don't even actually give a shit anymore. You're not even trying the actual modicum of actual minimal work to read the actual article in the first place or see how it's actually happening. All you guys are completely illiterate morons who can't do anything right whatsoever, and you wonder and you think to yourselves, why does Alex always put me in his videos? It's so annoying. I don't know. Read the article. I don't know. Read the whole tweet. I don't know. Stop trying to go through in console war in 2025 as a grown fucking adult who used to be an Xbox fanboy and then defected to be a PlayStation one and then let go of your channel because you didn't get an actual game key code from Phil Spencer. What is the point of all of this? Nothing actually makes any sense. Your complete vitriol is wild. People are even responding to you in that actual thread that you made. Look. Fonsbear says, yeah, leaving out the part where they say it's helped us optimize it for all platforms. Bo Done Did It said you left out the part if you even read the article about how optimizing it for the Series S helped make it better across all platforms. Austin says, conveniently ignored the part where the devs said optimizing for the Series S made the game better on every platform, but that doesn't fit your narrative, so it's unsurprising. Jim, no, game prices have been going up before then. It started back in the mid-2000s when Sony started pushing games past $60. Then every other company started following suit. Chuck, do you know how to read? Oh, every time. Cooked, flambéed, roasted, broiled, sautéed to perfection, my boy. Look, as someone who games primarily only on PC and their Steam Deck, the reason why I like the Xbox Series S is because when devs optimize for it, my experience on my PC, my 7900 XT and my 7700X with 32 gigs of RAM and 2 SSDs performs infinitely better. My Steam Deck and the games it plays perform infinitely better. Every game and every piece of hardware that I use when a developer optimizes for the Series S means that my experience overall will be absolutely better because of it. That means everybody gets a better experience overall. Developers optimizing for that platform makes gaming good for everybody. And what's funny is when the PS6 handheld comes out and games are optimized for that, it'll make games good for your console as well. So don't talk about holding back a generation. Don't talk about, oh, this is ruining gaming, when none of you clowns understand the actual implications of when a developer has to do just a modicum of work for a couple of months to fix a few problems to make the game run better for everybody, which means the game is better for everyone, which means they earn the actual money in the first place because the game runs well. It's good for everyone. You guys are so hate-filled over a brand you don't even use or play, that even when the console you guys shit on consistently does a good thing for you personally, you still crap on them. That narrative keeps getting popped. And every time, I'll be here to catch you. Don't worry. Daddy's here. So ladies and gentlemen, if you liked today's video, thank you. And if you didn't like it, fuck you. If you want to see more of this kind of content, more PC port reviews, gaming news, Steam Deck videos, fanboy content, live streams every Saturday night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 93,000 subs, and I just want to say thank you guys so very much. If you want Discord access or emotes during live streams, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. If you don't want to spend the buck, don't sweat it. Just show up Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern. Trust me, as I live stream to about 800 people wearing a banana suit and getting insulted with AITTS. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. With all that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you gooners next time. Peace!